Stop it, please, I beg you!
Oh man, I'm not sure whether this was supposed to be hilariously cringeworthily bad and monumentally dumb, or whether it was simply intended for the Rainbow Hair Brigade, who as we know would have been massively offended if they hadn't race-swapped and deleted yet another red-headed character, since they are the only minority that Hollywood actively attempts to remove from public view, as if they were some kind of soulless mollusk, devoid of any kind of visual appeal, that wouldn't have small children screaming into their pillows as they hope the red-headed monster won't come out from under the bed. But first I'll let Javier Bardem, star of many actually good movies, give you his review of the movie. Yes, this movie is so very bad that Javier Bardem couldn't stop crying all the way through. There is only so much pain that a fat paycheck can salve. His heart was clearly broken when he realized that after his Oscar-winning performance,
You tend to win everything, call it.
from when it actually used to mean something, his career has sunken into the depths of apparently the Caribbean, and now he finds himself having to pretend he is half man, half fish for a living.
A few minutes later.
Sorry about that, had a bit of a pessimism overload. Let's imagine we are in reverse world instead. So, instead of dwelling on the pain and suffering of Javier Bardem, let's look instead at the positives and see if we can't lift the mood a little. After all, this is a fun, colourful movie about a half woman, half fish. Not that one. This one. No, not that one either. Yes, this is the one. Isn't she pretty? Oh, and look at that, she really does have red hair. So I guess perhaps Hollywood forgot about this one, although something seems a little off. Oh well, not to worry, I'm sure it's not important. What do you think, Javier? So in this version of this much-loved story, we see Ariel. No, not that Ariel. This one. No, not that one either. I mean this Ariel, the Little Mermaid. This is the live-action version of the much-loved 80s cartoon, and if there is one thing that Hollywood loves, it is a remake, so that they can try and cash in on any goodwill that a franchise might have left. And since this is modern Hollywood, the first thing they did was attempt to recast, cast as closely to the original as possible. So in that vein, we have this girl as the Little Mermaid. Okay, well perhaps it was sunny and everyone was wearing shades that day. Next up, we have this guy as the prince. Eh? See? I knew they wouldn't do us wrong. Then we have the king. Queen. Although there is precedent. I wonder what the source of her country's glory and strength is. How do mothers here lull their children to sleep? Hang on a minute. There seems to be a bit of an issue here. What could it be? There is definitely something that just doesn't feel quite right about this prince, queen, queen, prince, queen? I can't quite put my finger on it. Shout it out in the comments if you can spot the discrepancy here. I know it's there, but it must be very subtle. Let's just have a quick check on Javier and see if any of these details have cheered him up. Well, okay. Next up is Sebastian, the talking, singing, dancing crab. A bit creepy, but nothing out of the ordinary these days. So nothing to see here, let's move along to Flounder. It's a fish. What do you want me to say? And last but not least of the charming CGI characters, we have a seagull, or whatever it's called now. This one is special because... my ears! I'm blind! Deaf! Okay, where was I? Oh right, the wondrously accurate casting that made this magical children's story come into live action on the big screen. And here we come to a rather good choice for the role of Ursula. After all, if you are looking for a fat, grotesque, disgustingly self-gratifying, somewhat amusing, visually unappealing actress, then look no further than Melissa McCarthy, a woman who made her name in Hollywood by essentially lampooning and playing up to the stereotypical view of obese women. Oh come Javier, I wasn't that cruel. Plus, I was sort of joking. Maybe. She was actually a good call for this movie, although I'm not sure why the casting director took off the sunglasses, but I'm glad that she did. I can't think of anyone else who would fit the requirements better. And last up is everybody else. Yes, the whole rainbow spectrum of people that somehow wandered in from the set of Channel 5's Anne Boleyn series. After all, if you're looking for a time period with a massively diverse group of people, I always start with 16th century England. Then I work my way out until I get to mid-1850s Denmark. That way I can ensure peak multi-ethnic diversity. Whoops, I nearly forgot someone. How are you doing over there, Javier? Now that we have approved the remarkable casting, let's look at the story, which in fact is basically the wonderfully charming Little Mermaid story that we all remember, without much embellishment. Little Mermaid is obsessed with humans, has a statue of a human, and wants to learn as much as possible about them. She can't help goofing off and investigating the humans that come by in ships. Her sisters, at least I guess they are her sisters, I mean the story says so, and Javier seems to think they are his, which can only mean that their mum was a woman of dubious morals. Or perhaps they were very modern and had one of those open marriages, whereby Javier sits there in the corner while his wife...
Bodie, the wild mambo,
well, you know. So Ariel's sisters try to warn her about being too obsessed with the human world, and so does Sebastian, but eventually King Triton finds out and forbids her from going to the surface and destroys her statue. Ariel gets all rebellious and heads back to the surface and ends up rescuing a prince from a shipwreck. And then falls in love with him, but he has legs and she doesn't, so without missing a beat she goes to visit the Sea Witch, who is clearly of sound mind and not at all likely to betray her for her own ends, to say, get back at Ariel's dad Triton for banishing her from Merwoman, no, that's also not very progressive. How about Merpeople Society? Yeah, that sounds nice and non-specific. So the Sea Witch, after attempting to drown the Little Mermaid in a whimsical and amusing way, after all this movie is a PG, so violent malice has to be fun, she helps her get her legs, but in return loses her voice, which incidentally is the only thing that the prince remembers about her, so yeah, this is gonna go well. Ariel washes up on shore where she is found by people that seem to be remarkably prepared and used to having girls just wash up randomly on the coast. They wash her, clothe her, and take her to meet the prince because, well, why wouldn't they? To cut a way longer than it should have been story short, I mean, I wish it was so much longer than it was. The Little Mermaid needs to kiss the prince within 2 days or she will never get her voice back again, and she'll belong to the Sea Witch, whatever that means. But this movie is a PG, so whatever you're thinking, you're wrong. And it is lucky things turned out happily in the end. Isn't that right, Javier? Yeah, well, moving on. So there you have it. What a wonderful and uplifting story that was. Just like the original in almost every way. In fact, almost indistinguishable at times. And just like the cartoon, this movie is aimed at your children. Because if there is one thing that Disney wants, it's your children. They want to educate them. They want to educate them in the ways of the world and help them get used to the way things are and joyously show them how everything, no matter who or what it is special and good and in their best interests. After all, who knows best what's good for your children if not Disney? And there you have it. Wasn't that a wonderful, enlightening, magical way to spend 2 hours and 15 minutes of your life? Rather than the far too short hour and 20 minutes of the original cartoon, which managed to get so many important details wrong, especially for mid-19th century Denmark. It is great when Disney manages to pinpoint exactly how to improve their old IP by removing all those irrelevant details that were holding the narrative back. Isn't that right, Javier? This has been Movies Suck, wishing everything could be as magical as Disney's Little Mermaid. Signing out. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.